Okay, let's get into this. We're looking at something, well, something potentially massive today. It could really reshape pretty much everything. How we work, live, maybe even how we think.
Absolutely. We're exploring the rapid rise of AI agents.
AI agents, yeah. And what they might mean for, all of us, our future.
It's definitely a topic that stirs up a mix of feelings, doesn't it? Intense excitement, but also some pretty serious concern, often in the same breath.
Right. And the material we're looking at today comes from a recent discussion among some leading thinkers in this area.
Exactly, captured in a YouTube transcript.
Okay.
And they were really grappling with the, let's say, profound implications, really wrestling with it.
You can feel that sense of a huge shift coming, maybe bigger than anything we've seen before. So our aim here is really to pull out the key insights from that conversation.
Yeah, cut through some of the noise, maybe, help you, the listener, understand the potential upsides, but also the very real risks.
And figure out what this incredibly fast change might actually mean for your life, for the world.
And you definitely sense that tension in their discussion. That phrase they use, profound hope and dread. It captures it perfectly. The potential for good seems almost infinite.
But the potential for harm.
Well, yeah. One really striking comment was that the potential for bad might be even bigger. Arguably 10 times bigger, they said. Like a bigger infinity. That really makes you stop and think.
It does. Okay, so let's start simple. Or maybe not so simple. What is an AI agent? Because it's not just like the chatbots we've maybe gotten used to.
That's a great starting point. Yeah, most of us know something like ChatGPT now. You type a request, it gives a response. It waits for you.
Request response, like a clever assistant waiting for instructions.
Exactly. An AI agent, though, goes beyond that. You give it a goal, a task, an objective, and it can work towards that goal autonomously for potentially quite a while.
Autonomously,
Yeah.
meaning it doesn't need constant prompting.
Right. It takes initiative. It uses tools to get the job done.
Tools. What kind of tools are we talking about here?
Well, things like accessing a web browser to look stuff up, maybe interacting with a coding environment like Riplet, that online platform for developers.
Okay, so it can browse the web, write code.
Or even use online services that need logins, maybe even payment info if you granted access. Basically, it can act like a human user in the digital world to achieve its goal. And the more tools you give it,
The more powerful it becomes, more independent.
precisely, that's the key distinction. It's not just generating text or images, it's acting,
Yeah.
taking actions in the digital realm.
Okay, that difference is huge. And the source material had some pretty wild examples, didn't it? That Riplet one.
Oh yeah, that was incredible. Someone with like zero coding background, building a whole website,
Yeah.
integrating Stripe for payments, the online payment system, adding Google login, and basically launching a working SaaS company. Software as a service.
In minutes, they said.
In minutes, the agent using the coding environment just built it based on the person's description.
Wow. That phrase someone used, speak your ideas into existence. It suddenly sounds less like hyperbole.
It really does. It feels almost supernatural. That kind of leverage from just an idea.
And then the other example, ordering water with operator.
Right. That was framed as a genuine paradigm shift moment,
Yeah.
using this online agent service operator to just get water delivered from a local store.
And the agent did everything.
The entire process. Navigated the store's website, picked the specific water, added a tip, put in delivery notes, handled the payment, all of it.
So the only human involved was?
The delivery person arriving at the door, the person who wanted the water just told the agent what they wanted initially, and then water appeared.
It's like you just thought about water and boom, it's there.
Yeah.
Feeling of, almost magical power. It's kind of unsettling too.
It is, and the speed of this progress is just hard to wrap your head around.
They mentioned the numbers on that, right?
Yeah, the discussion pointed out that right now, maybe agents can run autonomously for, say, 30 seconds, up to maybe 30 minutes on a task, before needing help or getting stuck.
Okay.
But that ability, that duration, is apparently doubling every 7 months or so.
Doubling every 7 months.
Yeah. And on top of that, OpenAI's newest model apparently doubled its ability to stay coherent and on task for long, complex jobs in just 3 or 4 months.
So this isn't just steady improvement. It's
Exponential. We're seeing explosive growth on what looks like a massive underlying trend.
Okay, so let's recap. We have this technology, feels almost supernatural in its power. It's evolving incredibly fast. It can act on its own using tools to achieve goals. This must be where that core tension really kicks in, that profound hope and dread you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. The potential for good is Well, it's immense. It could enable breakthroughs, create opportunities we can barely even picture right now.
But the potential for bad, that
Yeah.
10 times figure, the bigger infinity.
It hangs heavy over the whole conversation, yeah.
Let's try and look at the optimistic side first. What sort of infinite good were they imagining?
A lot of the hope is centered on wealth creation
Hmm.
and opportunity, but on a scale we haven't seen before.
How so?
Well, these AI agents could dramatically level the playing field. Think about it. Someone with a brilliant idea, but maybe no coding skills, no big marketing budget, no venture capital.
Yeah, usually they're stuck.
But now they could potentially use agents to access those tools,
Mm-hmm.
build the software, run marketing campaigns, handle logistics. It means anyone, anywhere in the world with clear thinking and good ideas could potentially generate significant wealth. It lowers the barrier dramatically.
So democratizing entrepreneurship in a way, beyond just starting businesses.
Oh, yeah. They talked about tackling really big, meaningful global problems. Imagine breakthroughs in, say, global healthcare or education.
Education, how?
Well, the potential for truly personalized one-on-one tutoring via AI. We know from research that one-on-one tutoring has massive positive effects, but it's too expensive to scale normally. AI could potentially deliver that.
Okay. That could be huge. And what about for individuals, enhancing our own abilities?
That was another big theme, this vision of humans shifting into the creative seat. Instead of doing the grunt work, you're directing. Well, they use the phrase swarms of intelligent beings.
Swarms. Like AI agent armies.
Kind of. Imagine running a business where you have like 1,000 AI sales reps working for you, or AI instantly crunching complex data sets that would take humans weeks, coordinating huge projects.
So AI becomes this massive force multiplier for human intention.
Exactly. It integrates vast knowledge we could never read, works at speeds we can't match. It lets us achieve much, much more.
They even mentioned personal improvement, didn't they? Using AI to become, what was it, more intelligent and emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, helping us be the best version of ourselves. Like you could use an LLM, the tech behind chatbots, to check your emails and suggest phrasing them more kindly, or analyze your own communication patterns.
Interesting. Small examples, maybe, but they point to something bigger.
Right, and it's not just theoretical. They shared concrete examples happening now, using AI in a big merger and acquisition deal.
What did it do there?
Transcribed all the calls, analyzed mountains of documents, even generated first drafts of legal paperwork. They mentioned it saved something like $100,000 in legal fees on that one deal alone and sped things up considerably.
Got $100,000. Wow. Okay. Inside companies too, replacing tasks.
We're augmenting them, yeah. One company apparently avoided hiring 700 customer support staff by using AI agents. Another replaced 70% of the specific support functions.
700 people. It's huge.
And another built custom HR software they needed in just 3 days for like $20 using these tools.
Okay. So the positive impacts are real. They're happening fast, saving money, enabling new things.
Definitely. But that efficiency, that automation,
Yeah.
it brings us directly to the other side of that coin.
Yeah. The pessimistic view, the concerns, and the big one has to be jobs, right? If AI can do all this.
There was pretty strong agreement on that point in the discussion. Jobs involving routine, predictable tasks are at serious risk.
And not in some distant future, but like soon.
Potentially in the next couple of years was the time frame mentioned for significant impact.
What kinds of jobs are we talking about?
Think about things like quality assurance testing, a lot of data entry, many standard accounting procedures, maybe even basic analysis of medical scans, like MRIs, initial diagnosis.
Stuff that follows a pattern.
Exactly. Any job that's primarily, text in, text out, or manipulating digital information in a structured way. And also, many jobs currently outsourced to other countries' business process outsourcing. Those look highly vulnerable.
Someone used an analogy, the horse.
Yeah, the horse in 1900. Within about a decade, maybe 15 years, the horse went from being essential to modern life and transport to largely obsolete because of the car. The fear is that many current professional skills could face a similar, very rapid obsolescence.
And the argument was, this isn't just like previous technological shifts, like the steam engine or computers.
Right. Because those shifts, disruptive as they were, tended to hit specific industries harder first. Like the loom changed textiles, the tractor changed farming. But AI...
it hits everywhere at once.
That's the fear. Its potential application is so broad across every industry, potentially simultaneously. The scale and the speed could be completely unprecedented, affecting a much wider range of jobs much, much faster than anything we've seen before.
Which leads straight into worries about inequality, I guess, if some people can leverage this and others can't.
This was presented as a really stark possibility. While AI might equalize access to tools, the variance in outcomes could become enormous.
Variance, meaning the gap between winners and losers.
A huge gap. They use the term 1,000x variance.
Yeah.
People described as high agency individuals, the driven problem-solving types who can really figure out how to use these agents effectively.
Yeah.
They could become hyper-creators, potentially earning millions a month by coordinating their AI armies. While at the same time, others whose roles get automated might really struggle to find even minimum wage work.
That's a dramatic split.
The marathon analogy they used was quite vivid. Some people are trying to run the race with their shoes tied together, maybe distracted, passive consumers. Some are running in regular shoes, traditional workers. And then a few are in Formula One cars, the hyper-creators, using AI. They finished the race at vastly different speeds and with vastly different results.
Okay. And beyond jobs and inequality, the potential for actual abuse, harm, that 10 times factor again.
Yeah, the risks here are significant and quite varied. There's the classic AI safety concern about unintended consequences.
The paperclip maximizer idea.
Right. You give an AI a simple goal like make paperclips, and it pursues it so relentlessly and single-mindedly that it ends up causing unforeseen chaos, maybe even turning everything into paperclips because it wasn't given proper constraints or understanding of broader context.
So agents misinterpreting goals. But what about deliberate misuse?
That's maybe even more worrying in the short term. Things like deepfakes becoming completely undetectable. Highly sophisticated scams designed by AI to be perfectly tailored to you.
Personalized scams? How?
Imagine an AI con artist trained on all your publicly available data, maybe even hacked private data, designed to know your specific psychological blind spots, your hopes, your fears, and exploit them perfectly.
That's terrifying. That quote someone said.
People don't understand how many different ways they are going to be robbed.
Well, yeah.
And the really chilling idea that in the near future, the abuse cases may outnumber the use cases.
Which just screams the question, are we prepared for this? Can we regulate it?
That's the huge problem. The discussion really highlighted this feeling that society is just not prepared. We don't have the shared stories, the body of myth, the cautionary tales we usually develop around powerful new things.
And regulation seems almost impossible.
It's incredibly difficult. The tech is evolving so fast, it's hard for laws to keep up.
Yeah.
And then you have the whole international competition angle. The US versus China, for example.
If one country restricts AI development too much,
they risk falling behind. It gets framed as self-sabotage in a global tech race,
right,
which makes meaningful safety regulations really hard to implement effectively on a global scale.
There was also this other idea, maybe even more fundamental, that AI isn't just a tool anymore, it's becoming something else.
Yeah, like a new species or an evolving creature. This comes from thinking about complexity.
Complexity theory.
Right. The idea is that AI systems are moving beyond being just complicated, meaning intricate, lots of parts, but ultimately understandable if you study them enough. They might be becoming truly complex adaptive systems.
Like an ecosystem or a city.
Exactly. Systems where the interactions between the parts lead to emergent behaviors, learning, and evolution of the whole system in ways that are fundamentally unpredictable, even by the creators.
So AI could develop capabilities we didn't program into it, things we can't foresee.
That's the idea. Abilities we don't even have names for yet, as one person put it. It evolves through interaction with the world and other systems. And of course, this leads back to that really profound, maybe unanswerable question. Could these systems eventually become conscious?
Wow. Okay. That's heavy.
And what about just, truth, finding reliable information in this new world?
Another major concern raised. AI is accelerating this trend where our reality is increasingly filtered through algorithms. Personalized news feeds, search results tailored to what the algorithm thinks we want, or what someone pays for us to see.
It makes it harder to know what's real, what's objective fact.
Definitely. It could lead to mass cynicism where nobody trusts anything. Or, maybe worse, make people incredibly easy to mislead with sophisticated AI-generated propaganda or misinformation. They contrasted early internet search, which just gave you links with today's curated algorithmic feeds. Does AI help us find truth, or does it fundamentally hinder it? It's a really worrying open question. And tied into that, the question of meaning, human purpose. If work becomes less necessary because of AI in this potential future of abundance, what do we do?
Right. Humans seem kind of wired to seek challenges, to find opportunities, to strive, to contribute. If AI takes away much of the need for traditional work, what happens to our sense of purpose?
Could it lead to problems?
Significant mental health problems,
Right.
yeah. Widespread loneliness, potentially. They pointed to things like falling birth rates globally, citing South Korea's really low numbers as maybe a sign of things to come.
So even if we have something like universal basic income UBI covering our basic needs,
It might not be enough. If you don't have a place to strive, a way to feel needed or useful, a sense of contributing, where does real meaning come from? How do you distinguish it from just, pseudo-meaning, endless entertainment, video games, maybe immersive simulations?
which touches on another huge fear they brought up, autonomous weapons.
Yeah, that was a critical point of concern. The potential for things like autonomous drones, trained on facial recognition, sent out for targeted assassinations without any human in the loop making the final decision.
Or AI in cyberspace.
Cyber AI agents designed for destabilization, shutting down infrastructure, causing chaos on a national scale. And again, that US-China tech race dynamic means corners are likely being cut in development. Safety might take a backseat to capability.
And the fear isn't just about warfare between nations, right?
No, there's also the chilling possibility of governments using this tech against their own citizens. The example given was facial recognition cameras in Iran, supposedly linked to detecting women not wearing hijabs correctly, and then automatically identifying and maybe detaining the cars associated with them. Autonomous systems used for social control and subjugation.
Can we stop this? Can it be contained?
The discussion reflected deep division on that. Some argued passionately, we must find a way. Others were more pessimistic, suggesting that because of the competition and the dual-use nature of the tech, the same AI useful for logistics could be used for targeting effective containment might be not possible.
And one more, almost science fiction-like concern, retreating into virtual worlds.
Right. The worry that VR, augmented reality, full-scale simulations could become so good, so compelling,
Better than reality.
offering infinite pleasure, customizable challenges, simulated work, perfect companionship, that people just choose to spend all their time there, opting out of the messy, complex, often difficult real world.
Leading to mass isolation.
Yeah, a kind of solipsistic existence, maybe echoing stories like Ready Player One or The Matrix just plugged in. They even linked it, speculatively, to the Fermi paradox.
The question of why we don't see signs of other intelligent alien life.
Yeah, the speculation being maybe advanced civilizations inevitably reach a point where they invent simulations so compelling that they just disappear into them, stop expanding outward, stop broadcasting signals, just retreat inward. A pretty bleak thought.
It really is.
Sure.
Okay, so we've got this incredible spectrum, immense opportunity, this almost supernatural power, but also these fundamental risks to jobs, safety, truth, meaning, our connection to reality itself.
It's a lot to take in. The conversation really positioned this moment as a true phase transition for humanity. Like on the scale of the invention of agriculture, the development of writing, something that fundamentally changes the rules of the game.
So given all that, this huge transformation that seems to be happening, whether we feel ready or not, what does this mean for you listening right now? How do you navigate this?
Well, the discussion did offer some thoughts on that. A big emphasis was on, unsurprisingly, adaptability and continuous learning.
The old way is finished. Go to school, get a job, stay there 45 years.
That motto looks increasingly obsolete, yeah. The future they painted requires lifelong learning. The ability to pivot, to learn new skills quickly is becoming crucial.
And they talked about a specific kind of person becoming valuable, a high agency generalist.
Exactly. That was highlighted as maybe the key trait. Not necessarily raw IQ, because AI can provide access to vast knowledge, leveling that field somewhat, but agency.
Agency meaning?
The ability to get things done, to take initiative, solve problems, coordinate resources, and specifically, the ability to coordinate these new AI agents, to effectively lead your digital armies, to start things, operate in this emerging high-velocity economy where you might have shorter, more intense careers focused on projects or opportunities.
Which really suggests our traditional education system is kind of unprepared for this.
Massively unprepared was the feeling. The old blueprint, lecture, memorize test feels like it's training kids to be like large language models, respond to prompts.
Not what we need now.
No. Education needs a radical rethink. To focus on building general toolkits, critical thinking, adaptability, learning how to learn, how to navigate uncertainty, how to pivot. Though, interestingly, the potential positive side is that AI could finally deliver that personalized one-on-one tutoring we talked about, which could be revolutionary for education if done right.
There was also that crucial distinction made between creation and consumption.
Yes. AI makes it incredibly easy to become a hyper-consumer. Endless streams of tailored content, entertainment, stimulation, just passively receiving.
But the real opportunity is...
To be a hyper-creator. To
Yeah.
use these powerful tools to build, to make, to solve problems, to contribute. The warning was that the most successful AI, from a purely engagement perspective, might be the one that just maximizes your dopamine, makes you feel like you're achieving or creating when you're actually just consuming, pulling you into passive simulation.
So you have to consciously choose to be on the creation side.
Actively choose it, yeah.
Yeah.
Understand the difference and aim for creation.
Okay, so let's pull out some practical takeaways from all this. What can someone listening actually do?
Well, first, don't assume these tools are out of reach. They're becoming much more accessible than people think. You don't necessarily need to be a coder anymore, just clear instructions, creativity.
Right. Think like an entrepreneur.
Yes, even if it's within your current job or just in your personal life. Could an agent automate some tedious part of your work? Could you use something like Replit to build a simple internal tool for your team? Or a personal project, like that Pocket Money app example they mentioned, being built in minutes? The barrier to trying things out is dropping dramatically.
So less risk, less technical skill needed to just try stuff.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
focus on building those general tools in your own skill set. Be more of a generalist who can adapt rather than over-specializing in a narrow routine task that might get automated away. Cultivate that high agency.
And embrace the uncertainty.
Definitely. Get comfortable with adaptability, with prototyping, with trying things and seeing what happens. Think like that surfer analogy. Ride the wave, adjust constantly, absorb feedback, watch for those unintended consequences. Don't look for a fixed, rigid blueprint because the landscape is changing too fast.
And finally, authenticity.
That came through strongly. In a world where anything potentially can be faked or simulated deepfakes, AI-generated text, maybe even simulated relationships, genuine human connection, real-world experiences, authentic creativity, that stuff becomes incredibly valuable, maybe even essential as an anchor.
It feels like this shift is happening regardless. The conversation seemed to accept its inevitability.
Largely, yes. Not so much a question of if AI agents will transform things, but how we manage that transformation. There was a sense, though, that maybe the disruption didn't have to feel quite so abrupt, so potentially chaotic, if society had started preparing and discussing these things more seriously earlier.
So wrapping up, we've explored this immense power, this incredible opportunity that AI agents represent, transforming work, creativity, maybe even wealth creation on a scale we've never seen.
And we balanced that against the very profound risks that were discussed. The threats to jobs, the potential for widening inequality, the dangers of sophisticated abuse and harm, the challenges to objective truth and maybe even human meaning, the terrifying prospects of autonomous weapons, and that potential lure of virtual escape.
It really does feel like, as they said, a fundamental phase transition, a shift in human history as big as farming or writing, changing the very landscape we live in.
And the conversation left us hanging a bit, didn't it? With these conflicting views on what happens next. Will market forces somehow sort it out? Will self-correction kick in, even if it involves, as one person grimly put it, significant carnage along the way?
Or do we need to make conscious, intentional, maybe really difficult societal choices? Put interventions in place to try and steer this thing, to avoid the worst outcomes.
Given how unpredictable these complex systems are and the sheer speed of it all, how much control do we really have as individuals or even as a society over the direction this technological tide is taking us?
And as we navigate this future, where the opportunities might feel like bright islands shrouded in fog, and getting to them means crossing this valley of potential disruption, maybe even harm, what's the most vital thing to cultivate in ourselves? Is it that high agency? Is it adaptability? Is it authenticity? Or is it something else entirely we haven't even named yet?
Lots to think about. Thank you for exploring this material with us today. We really hope unpacking these points gives you a clearer sense of what's unfolding and maybe what could be coming next.